Daniel, it's great that you could join us today. Please tell us a little bit more about the corporate venturing landscape in Brazil for you.
Absolutely. So we've been active in Brazil since 2012. And for us, we've seen the evolution of the ecosystem happening in the last few years. So whereas in the first few years of our presence, we saw an ecosystem that's mainly focused on business model innovation, and we saw corporations that are tapping into that specific segment of business model innovation. Now what we're seeing is a slew of entrepreneurs that are tackling global problems and looking at ventures that are not just local to local innovation. And what we're seeing because of that is more global corporations coming into the ecosystem and tapping into the innovation that is primarily now focused on a global scale. So we're seeing ecosystem players coming from China, corporations from China coming in and tapping into the ecosystem where they have access that is unparalleled to the ones that they have in the US. And you see companies like ourselves coming in and looking at segments that are more IoT focused, that are more enterprise focused, that did not exist in the first wave of innovation in the ecosystem in the 2012 to 2013-14 timeframe.
Cool, there's now plenty of activity. What would you say are the biggest developments that have taken place, or the ones that we should look out for going forwards?
Yeah, so absolutely. So in the last year and a half or so, we've seen a critical element come to play, which is basically the exit element and the growth level and the growth stage element that did not exist in the last few years. So you see multi-million dollar funds, $50 million funds, $100 million funds, and the emergence of participation of the SoftBanks of the world and the growth stage venture firms that are competing in the ecosystem and are looking for opportunities in the ecosystem. The other thing that you see is the evolution of the ecosystem from an exit standpoint. You saw the IPO of Netshoes, you saw the acquisition of 99 by Diddy, and you see many more companies that are already primed to IPO. So in the last year or so, there's been events, there's been talks about other candidates for IPOs that are shaping up. So all of that has happened in the last year and a half, and that did not exist up until that date.
It's been an incredibly busy year and a half then. How do you see corporate venturing developing in Brazil over the next few years?
Yeah, so I think there's two things that come to mind, and I would probably use analogies from other places and other geographies in the world of what happened there. You know, just like in Europe and the US and Israel and other places, you see that that corporate ventures are becoming a more significant portion in the ecosystem and are much more active in terms of activity, number of deals, but also in terms of the check sizes that you see within the deals that they participate in. The other thing that you see is the emergence of the local corporate ventures that are looking around and seeing that there are global players that are participating in the ecosystem, and they want to do the same thing. So if you look at what Itaú did with just the acceleration of the fintech ecosystem here, and with Kubo, you also start seeing other elements and other corporations within the ecosystem starting to participate in both the acceleration of the ecosystem, but also funding and investing into the local ecosystem and supporting portfolio companies. And interestingly enough, you can see a dynamics that can shape up between the local corporations that want to venture arm and want to participate in the venture ecosystem, and a collaboration between those and the global players that have less visibility and less understanding of the local markets, but do help by accelerating the growth of the ventures within the ecosystem in a more global way.
Well, absolutely, and we're here in Sao Paulo. What brings you to corporate venture in Brazil 2018?
Absolutely. So I've heard a lot about the conference, and I've been in Brazil before, but I wanted to spend some time with some of my colleagues and some of the other participants and stakeholders in the ecosystem. And the other thing that I wanted to do is to use this opportunity because we are a little bit more focused on potentially making more direct investments in the ecosystem. And I think that exchanging ideas and thinking about what we need to consider more and what are the type of opportunities that we can look into with some of our peers here would be effective and would be of assistance to us.
Well, Daniel, that's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.